Alrighty, how's everybody doing today? Not a bad day for me today. I actually cherish days like this because they don't come up that often. But I hope everybody's doing well and getting through this awful pandemic, trying to protect themselves, and whether you believe it or not. But it's out there. It's definitely out there. All right, this video is about my Harrington and Richardson. This is called a Top Break. Okay, now it is loaded. So what I'm going to do is unload it because I keep this guy. It is unloaded, so there you go. I keep this guy in one of my drawers for a little spare revolver that in case I ever need it. It is 100% dependable because it's in excellent shape. Let me close it up. So there you go. I'll let you take a look at it. It is nickel finish. It's beautiful. It's got some wear spots, like most of them do. I've seen a few of them out there that are 100%, almost immaculate, 100% the nickel plated. But this one does have some wear, like right up here on the back strap, a little bit down here, and I think there's a spot right there, see? But this whole side is actually nice, just that little spot right there. And then we have some right here in front of the grips and a little bit right there. But other than that, the barrel, beautiful. It is 38 Smith&Wesson. The rifling is in there, which is really nice. And as you can see, excellent cylinder. Beautiful cylinder. It does rotate freely. And I'll just let you hear it. Really, really nice. That's why they're called freewheelers, freewheeling, because they're just awesome. They're constantly like this, so if you get one, you're gonna, it's actually cool when you make that noise, I think it's pretty cool. It's like your sixth gun, in the West. But anyhow, get back to the story here. I picked this up quite a long time ago, and I've always taken care of it. It's a beautiful, beautiful 130-year-old firearm. This was probably made around 1886, between 1886 and 1888, I believe. This is called a first variant. There was 3 different variations when Harrington and Richardson made this. This was the first one. And there's one way that you could tell whether it's the first, second, or third, and that's by the roll stamp. I don't know if you could see that. Sorry about moving here. There you go. So where it says Harrington and Richardson at the top here, it doesn't have a patented date. Okay, there's no patented date on here. That's company, that's CO right there, that's not a number. And then Worcester, Massachusetts, that was when they originally were bought over, and that was the second place that they moved into, I believe. But if it has a patented date, it's either the second variation or the third variation. Okay, this is the first. And another way that you could tell, it's not auto eject. This is manual. Now it does pop up here on the back of the cylinder, so you could just individually take your shells out or kind of shake them out if they come out. But a lot of times when you shoot them, some of the shells will get stuck in the cylinder and you have to just take your fingers and just pop them out one at a time. But then the second variation had the automatic eject. Okay, it is hammer with a firing pin. Then these big horn hammers here, the horn firing pins, they were pretty well known back then. And the old Colts were like that, the Colt single actions. The Frontier models were like that. Even the Colt look-alike Frontier models had the big horn firing pins. And I used to have one, but I don't even know what happened to it. So, still nice, I guess, if you want to call it a case coloring, but it really isn't. It's a steel. It's sort of like has case coloring, but being back then, this is pretty one of the less inexpensive pistols that you could buy at the time. So they wanted to try to make it affordable for people that could afford them, and have them in their protection and home defense and etc. You know, you could fit this thing in your pocket if you wanted to, you know. So hard rubber grips. These grips are almost perfect. Why I say almost is it just has some, you know, a little bit of fine scratches on it right here, a little bit. Not too bad though, you know what I'm saying? But usually they crack in time, they dry out, and some pieces are missing down here. So if you ever find one of these and you want to take these grips off to check the main spring out, make sure you oil the screw up a little bit there before you start messing with it. And definitely get the right screwdriver for it. Okay, now there is a pin with a little hole in this grip that kind of sits on there on both sides. So make sure because these are tight before you take them off, and just gently pry up a little bit with your fingernail. I mean gently, because they will get stuck on that pin inside that protrudes up into the grip, and you will break it right here. So I actually did that in the past a couple times with some of the ones I've had. They do sell replacement grips, but of course they're not the original, and they're made with like a heavy plastic material. These are the original rubber type material. All right, there's two things that people do not tell you about these on YouTube videos, and two most important things, okay? Well, actually, let's go three. One is, make sure if you do pick one up, it's in excellent shape. Make sure it's tight. You know, make sure it locks up tight. Make sure everything works, and then, you know, you could check how tight it is by pulling the trigger and holding the hammer at the same time. So I'm putting pressure on the trigger with my index finger. I'm holding the hammer, and you can just see that's just slightly loose. But when I get the shells in here, when I get the ammo in here, it will be a lot tighter. It kind of backs itself against the frame there, and it would just make it really tight. So make sure you check and make sure everything is tight and working order. Make sure you clean it, oil it up a little bit. And if you want to go ahead and shoot these, you'll be 100% safe, okay? So again, it is a freewheeler. And okay, so let's go number one. The number one thing that you really truly have to do to make these things last and to take care of them, like when you're opening up the top break, I don't think anybody shows you on YouTube. They always put their finger right here, okay, and they always like press here on the left, and then it opens up. Well, what you're doing is you're not even it out, and this is going to wear, and it's going to wear crooked. So that's very important. Don't just put your thumb here and open this top break up. What you want to do is you take your index finger and put it right here, see a little area, and put some pressure on there. Bring this thumb down, put your right thumb on the right side, take this hand and put it up in front of there, and then take your left thumb and then just lift up. So what you're doing is you're holding the pistol and you're lifting up, and then you're making it even, and you see how that opens up nicely? So you're putting pressure evenly across the catch mechanism so that you don't put pressure on just one side, because eventually this will get a little bit uneven, and then this would kind of wear eventually on this side, whatever, if you're left-handed or right-handed. So make sure you do that. Take both hands, put them up here, take your thumbs, and then put the pressure evenly and open that top break up. That's number one. All right, number two is, now I am going to load this. I'm going to be extremely careful, but I have to load it because I don't have any snap caps or shells that have been shot. So I want to show you exactly what goes on here, which nobody shows you on the internet that I believe. I mean, I haven't seen any videos. Now, since you have this big horn firing pin here that protrudes out, it's going to actually come out of the back of the frame here where it hits the shell. So I'm going to put it down, and as you can see, let me get a little closer. These are just like, I don't know, it's not even focusing in. Okay. These are just like your single action Colts. where your firing pin protrudes beyond the back of the frame. So if I take my finger, I can actually feel that firing pin right there, okay? So what you have to do before you load this thing, you have to semi-cock it first. Pull the hammer back until it snaps. See? Now your hammer is set back from the frame and your firing pin is no longer protruding out where it comes to fire your shell. So it's very smooth there now. See, I don't feel the firing pin at all. Then what you do is you load your rounds, okay? And then when you load your rounds, what it is, it's a safety that you don't shoot yourself in the leg or whatever, okay? Then you close it, and now it's safe. So now you don't have the firing pin resting on any of these shells or primers, I mean, so that it goes off. Now, with this particular model, as soon as you put your shells in, it makes it tighter cylinder, like it doesn't move or anything. So if I pull this hammer back and I fire, when I pull the trigger, then at the same, I pull the hammer back to shoot and pull the trigger. As I'm pulling the trigger, it puts pressure on everything inside to make this cylinder extremely tight, okay? So there's no malfunction whatsoever. There's no blowback in lead deposits, that comes out in here. Now, I'm not saying you're not going to get any lead deposits around you, or maybe a little bit in your face. You got to be careful because with these old guns, sometimes they don't line up correctly. And if they don't line up correctly with a cylinder here and the barrel, you will get some blowback on it. So, like say if it's off just a hair, I'm only going to point it out that way. So, so there again, so when you're loading it, let me just unload it so it's safe, okay? When you're loading it, make sure before you load the cylinder, make sure you bring it to the first cock position. And that's it right there. Because now it is not resting on your shells. Now I want to show you, I did it just by example. I want to show you what happens. I did that, I loaded them earlier, and as you could see, there's a scratch in the primer. See that pretty big scratch right there in the primer? That's because I wanted to do it, and I put the hammer where it's supposed to be in the position of when I was firing, and without putting in this safety type position, and I wanted to show you what happens. So that's what will happen, and if you bump the hammer anytime, it's going to set that primer off, and it's going to shoot you in the leg or whatever, and you can either hurt or kill somebody by accident. So make sure you do that all the time. Now, I have not ever had one of these that you cannot do that. So every one that I've had, and I own quite a few right now, I can always semi-cock it like that for a safety, okay? Now, the second variations have a safety lever that comes up just like your regular modern revolvers. There's a safety lever that comes up, which is unbelievable. This was one of the first inventions that the Harrington Richardson did, and this is over 130 years ago, 120 years ago when they came out with a safety lever. So then you could rest your hammer up against your shells and you won't have to worry about shooting yourself. But this one doesn't have a safety lever. It has the big horn firing pin, just like the older Colts do. But what a lot of people do when they load their Colts single actions and you open up your trap, your side door, they would skip a shell. So instead of loading 6, they would only load 5. And, then all of a sudden, you only have 5 shots, which to me is kind of senseless for a revolver. It's like, are you kidding me? You got a 6-shot revolver, now you're down to 5. But that's how you have to do it if you want to not blow your foot off. But even with this one, I could do the same thing. I could load and skip one, but now I'm down to 4 shots in because this is a 5-shot revolver, and I don't want to do that. Now, I'm not saying that this hammer, it's not 100% safe, so even if I do load it with 5 shots, and I do bring it back into the first cock position, it's still not 100% safe. Okay, because this is an older revolver. These pins and mechanism, the levers inside could snap. if you hit this real hard, and it could push in onto the to the shell casing itself and have an accident. So I'm not saying this is 100% reliable, but I'm very careful with it. So even if I'm carrying it into a holster and it is 5 rounds in there, I still would semi-cock this, and I feel pretty safe because I'm not going to sit there and hopefully not drop it or bump up against something, or even just put it in my drawer like that and it's ready to go with 5 shots. So I'd rather have 5 shots than 4. So they're the two most important things, is to take both thumbs and lift this up, the top break, and make sure you put pressure on both sides. Don't just put one pressure on one side like this and lift it up. I won't do that. And that's one of the things that people do not tell you and explain to you on the YouTube about these older revolvers. So it just takes a couple seconds. This is not a modern firearm, and you're not out for a speed test to get this open and loaded. Hopefully you'll have another sidearm that you need for defense, but just always put your 2 thumbs there and load up. Okay, and then the auto eject ones, after this variation, they came up and they have like a spring reaction that would just kind of push the shells up and back, and but this one did not. This one's actually a manual, and some of them had a lever here you just push in, and when you pushed it in, your ratchet right here, your cylinder ratchet, would just push in out like that. If I had a little pin here, your cylinder pin, or cylinder lever. So anyhow, I hope that helps you. And if you find one, hold on to it and cherish it, because they're going up in value. And these used to be 50, 80, 60 bucks, 70 bucks. Now you can't get them for less than $200 if they're in decent shape. If they're pretty bad, you might be able to pick them up for 100 bucks, and that's completely shot, parts model. But if something like this, even though it's Harrington, Richardson, this would go for $300 or $400 easy. And then again, you don't even need a FFL for this. I could sell this to you, to your house in the United States, of course, without an FFL, if somebody wanted to buy this. And you could still buy this ammo, but being with the pandemic right now, it's very expensive. It used to be $18 to $29 a box for 50 rounds. And again, it's Smith&Wesson 38, and it is short. And but now to get it, they're charging close to $100 a box. And that's just horrible, $100 a box. But it'll probably be obsolete one day, which it almost is now. But if you do have something like this, I would highly recommend buying 400, 500, 600 rounds if you can. Try to get it at a good price and stock up with it, and then just keep it with your revolver like that, into your cabinet or whatever you have it, because they're great little pistols, and they're in demand. And I think the reason why they're in demand is because a lot of people know they don't need an FFL to get something like this, and they've been buying them online on these gun sites like crazy. I've seen these go up for $600, $700, $800, because probably somebody couldn't even get a pistol because either they were arrested, which is illegal, but they're probably buying them up because they're not able to buy a pistol, and they know they could get this pistol delivered to their house as long as they don't get caught, by the ATF or federal. And to have something like this that is operational and useful, and in case you needed it for a home defense, you'll have something that you don't have to go through a gun dealer or registration. And then you could buy the ammo, of course, still now, and then you'll have a beautiful pistol and home defense, So I hope that helps. I hope I gave some good advice this time. And this one here, I think I made a video. This one, what I'm doing is putting a couple parts on it. This is an original Mossberg 42, what is it, a 42, I forgot now. Hold on, I'm sorry. Forgot what this was, a 42B? I think it's a 42B. Yeah, 42 M&B, government. So it is United States property, government property. And I love this thing. Look at this, it has original stock, original swivels. The only thing I need to get for it is an end cap. I don't know what happened to the end cap. And this was like a pre-war So these were training rifles. See that? These were training rifles. 22 long. Okay, I think you could use shorts in them too. Let's see. No, 22 long and long rifle, I'm sorry. And had the nice original peep sight on the back here. See the little peep sight. Ooh, peep sight. The only thing it's missing too is one of these safety color. This one, the green is safe. The green says safe or S. And then there was like a red or orange one that would say F for fire. So, but you could pick those up online. I think there's a guy that sells those. And it is bolt action. Just want to brief it with you. I don't want to take too long on this. It has original stock. And I want to find a original sling for it. And these particular models as a training rifle had the green canvas type sling. A lot of people think they had the leather sling, but no, not these. These particular ones had the green or tan color canvas slings. So there you go. I might make another video of that one. Hope you enjoyed the revolver. I love this revolver. It's one of my favorites. I have some more, and this is the best one I have that I like in the nickel plated. All right, take care, guys. Talk to you. Have a good one and stay safe.